And I guess it's due to social media, and I guess it's due to the photographer now kind of becoming, even the young creative starting on a journey. They're kind of creating a brand. It's kind of polymath. There's a photographer, a designer, and a web designer, and such like. For how much, and I'm sure this is a very difficult question to answer, but how much influence when deciding whether you can support a young artist, how much do you consider the wealth of followers that person may have?
How does an artist's online and social media profile affect their relationship with galleries? This is Rahul from Artist Life Hacks and V Patina. I speak to Sebastian Ripson, a curator at Gallery WM in Amsterdam, and Steve Smith, a lecturer in photography at Nescol Aberdeen, to find out.
I'm just thinking some of the questions that I might pose to you might seem quite brutal or quite harsh, quite kind of put you on the spot in some sense. One of the things I was contemplating this morning, and I guess it's due to social media, and I guess it's due to the photographer now kind of becoming, even the young creative starting on a journey. They're kind of creating a brand. It's kind of polymath. There's a photographer, a designer, and a web designer, and such like. How much, and I'm sure this is a very difficult question to answer, but how much influence when deciding whether you can support a young artist, how much do you consider the wealth of followers that person may have, or people are building up a profile, and if they've got, maybe it's a naive question, but if they've got 10,000 followers on Instagram and they've got that engagement, is that taken into consideration, or do you purely from a kind of subjective aesthetic kind of photographic sense just look at the work and go, this work's beautiful, I need to work with this? There must be a commercial pressure to think about how far that person's reached, or how, in terms of their audience.
Sure. I mean, yes, I take that into consideration, but if I look back on the choices I've made, usually that's one of the first things that basically goes out of the window, because I'm easily influenced, to be honest. So if I see a body of work or a series that somebody's showing me, and that person has hardly any social media presence, perhaps doesn't have the amount of social skills useful for a profession of this sort, namely to go out there, to be out there, to disseminate whatever it is that you make. Even if that's the case, if I do see work that I absolutely believe in, I think is just absolutely beautiful, brilliant, fantastic, interesting, intriguing, whatever, fascinating, then I will go for it. I will, and I'll try to help that person set up a couple of social media accounts maybe, and so forth. But yeah, in the end, the work will probably drag me over the line, and I'll think, yeah, no, I just need to show this, because that's what, in a certain sense, the gallery that I lead, that I curate, Gallery WM, it's a very traditional kind of space in a certain sense. It's a it could be a gallery in the 70s or 80s. We haven't really gone along with the times in any really fundamental way. So in the end, it's still, I wouldn't say a white cube, but there's several white cubes in the gallery, and in the end, it's kind of a it's still the main
Just
presentation.
a simple, pure engagement with the work, I guess.
Yeah. So for example, to give you an example, this whole Corona COVID situation, has had a huge impact on my gallery. We were closed for several months, because for us it is important to have the photographer in the space, his or her work in the space, an opening where people come and interact and engage with the work and with each other. It's incredibly important part of the show, basically. And I just recently had an opening. What was it, last week?
Yeah.
Of our first exhibition since the whole Corona thing started, and we, necessarily we had to stretch the opening out and put in time slots and more or less have kind of a Corona-free type of environment, as far as we could make it. And it was great. I mean, I felt wonderful. It was wonderful to see people again and so forth. But basically, there were like 6 to 8. Okay, sometimes there were 10 to 15 people in the space, which is a little bit iffy. But it's incredibly important. It's that physical, presence. It's incredibly important for us. So I don't know what the question was that I'm answering.
Okay, so I think it was a good question. I just wanted to chime in with my perspective on what other galleries feel as well. And I think the key thing is that you're selling limited edition prints, right?
Yeah.
So you're only selling, I don't know, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, maybe hundreds,
30 max.
30 max, right? So for each artwork, you only need to find 30 buyers. So what that means is just because someone has 10,000 followers, it doesn't mean those followers translate into people who are willing to pay, I don't know, 1,000, 2,000, whatever you're charging per print, right? So a social media following doesn't necessarily translate, doesn't tell you anything about the passion that people who buy fine art photography will have for that person's product. Yeah, it's not quite one-on-one. There might maybe some relationship, but it's.
I guess the relationship, it can further enhance the profile of the gallery, or not so much the profile, but obviously those followers and awareness of the space of the gallery can never be a bad thing, right? You need to cast the net wide to have as many people know about the wonderful service that you provide for artists.
It's definitely not a bad thing, and it's something that I want to dig into further in other podcasts, because having a good social media presence is vital.
Yeah.
But it's only part of the story. It's an important part of the story.
It is important in terms of dissemination, in terms of beefing up your own profile, the profile of the artist. I mean, yes, it absolutely helps, and I am. Whenever I do work with an artist for the first time, and that artist is very present on social media, on the internet and blogs, and is widely available somehow if you just touch a couple of keys, it makes my work much easier. And I mean, it's great. It's great to have. It really is, because I mean, it does mean that there's a lot of exposure, which is basically what my business is.